All right, good morning, it's still morning, right? 3 minutes after 10. Hello, everybody. It is Storm Talk. Wave meteorologist Brian Good, running a bit behind today, and it will be a relatively short update today as well. There will be a press conference coming up here shortly about those berries everyone's been talking around town, berries that are making people sick. So there will be a presser coming up. So I will, once I'm wrapping up here, look for the notification on the news app side. They'll carry that live news conference for those of you that have been curious about that. And a lot of you have been. But on the weather side, I've got you all for the next several minutes here to discuss the setup that is we evolve into this evening. And it's not just a one round and we're done. It's this evening, into early Friday afternoon, Friday night, and part of even Saturday. And then we have a chance to relax. But how this all evolves over the next 36 to 48 hours is crucial because one piece will affect the other. So we've got an alert day out just for tonight and tomorrow morning's piece of it for now, only because there is very often in these cases that repeat themselves in the same locations, there is a margin of error that happens. And sometimes you can see improvement on the second and third wave, and sometimes you see things actually worsen. So we want to take it real slow. So this is the first leg of the alert day. Let's hope we don't have to issue the other sections of it. And if we do, then you know what has happened or what has gone wrong, if you will, in the forecast. So that's how we're approaching it for now. And we'll promise to keep you updated on it as we get a little closer into time. As always, you can comment on the social media site, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X. May not get to a lot of your questions today, but I will be scanning through as many of your comments as I can as I move along here for the next few minutes. All right. So I appreciate your patience as always with you all. Live look right now. We've had some downpours already this morning. Looking there into New Albany. I can't talk today. New Albany, looking toward the bridges there, heading toward the city of Louisville. Pretty shots outside here on this Thursday. A little hazy out there as well. We do have, that's the 1 hour flash flood guidance. I'll come back to that because I want to show you the rainfall amount that we had just from yesterday alone. Very blotchy, right? Some areas picked up 1 to 2 inches, maybe up to 2.5. Some of you got, once again, 0. And you see how speckled it was across Indiana and Kentucky for that very reason. But in areas that it did linger the longest, one of those being the Louisville Metro, that's where we ran into flash flooding issues that took place yesterday, not long after I saw you guys. It was very quick on developing right there in the core of the city into the northeast part of the county, same into Shelby. Bullitt County got close to a flood warning. And then I think, you did have flood warnings later in the evening, western side of Breckenridge County, into Perry County back to the west. But there are still some areas mixed in here, scattered about, where there was no change in the rain. And if you're curious, in the drought update, by the way, it updated this morning, and it's still just that one area of Adair County and then Taylor. That's about everybody else is in good shape today. All right, so we do have still some cloud cover mixed in, a lot of high clouds, still very humid. We've had some spotty downpours around the Louisville area all the way down to about portions here of Bowling Green. And the reason for that, well, just like the past few days, the moisture that has been pooling does tell us where your highest rain chance is in the short term. And sure enough, that's exactly where the radar is lit up right there in that darker green in central Kentucky. But it's not widespread today, and the values are not as high from where our air is going to be coming from this afternoon. So while it's still humid in Tell City and Santa Claus, Indiana, back into Evansville, it's not as deep of a moisture profile as we have now, and that's drifting east. So that means that while we have current downpours down the radar, we're not expecting that many for the afternoon, and we're not expecting a repeat of the past several afternoons of flash flooding. However, you start to see hints of the darker green just on the edge of the screen. That is our next wave that will be approaching from the west there. All right, closer view in the radar just to double check and see how these showers are in Louisville. Yeah, they faded briefly, drifted to the east, then boop, there they went back up again into Shelby County, all the way into Henry County. Otherwise, fairly quiet. All right, now this is our feature that's going to be first of several little, we call vorts, little impulses that'll be moving in. This is the first one that's going to track right into Kentucky and Indiana. There will be a second one. The question is, will the second one that develops for your Friday, will it track more north or will it track a little bit more south? Good question. Makes a difference on who gets a 1-2 hit on heavy rain. And there will be a third one on Saturday. Will that fall in the middle or will it be more in southern Kentucky? Good question. That will also determine the final round on the heaviest of rain. Obviously, you see where I'm going with this. If somebody gets all three of these pink lines, and if it's your backyard, your community, you get all three waves, you're going to experience a significant flooding event. I'm talking about more than a half a foot of rain, and it could get to record levels in some cases. So this is something you got to really watch. So we're raising the flag up on the alert day, but I want to make sure that even though we don't have alert days all weekend, that if all three waves impact your area, you're going to have big problems. So make sure you stay close to the weather changes. I don't know exactly where that will be. No one does, because they all play off of the other. So I can guess and give you a general idea, but given the margin of error is only about 1 or 2 rows of counties, I don't want to send anybody into a panic. I just want you all that are watching to be aware. Best case scenario, it would be they all miss us. That's best case. But second best case is that you get 1 or 2 of these pink lines, waves to move through, but they're displaced enough to where we spread out the higher rain totals and not just stick it over one community. Does that make sense? Type 1 if that makes sense, because this is very important when I'm passing along. We haven't gotten to the severe side yet. We'll get to that. I'm talking about just in general of the concern we have on the flash flooding side of this. It's all about the 1, 2, and 3, and do they overlap or not? And I think at the moment, there is more support for central and southern Kentucky to get all three than there is for Indiana. That's one thing I'm noticing, but you're not out of the woods, Indiana, completely. Okay, everyone seems to be on the same page. That's good. That helps me out, so I can move on then to what is first in this whole leg of drama, and that is the wave that is moving across Missouri. It's had a few severe thunderstorm warnings at times on the southern side. Now, what this has that has been missing, and it gets your attention right away, this rain on the radar is actually moving. It's not drifting. It's not developing and then it falls apart. Then the one down the street pops up. It's nothing like that. And then you see LA, our engineer back there cleaning the monitor. He thinks I don't see him. You see him over my shoulder there, but I see what he's doing there. In case it's like, where's Waldo, by the way? He loves to get in behind the shot and see if he can trick you all. But if he comments in chat, just pretend like I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, anyway. Such a trip. You can see this first wave moving on in. Again, it's moving, And we can track that with the wind flow as well, starting to just now ramp up into Missouri. And this is a future cast of the wind, the low level jet. Now, this is nothing off the charts. This is not a setup of a huge tailpipe that we get in the spring. And even just a few weeks ago, when we had that tremendous amount of wind that we had, that created a lot of problems in the area with a tornado outbreak in Indiana, especially. But it's enough. And for July standard, it's certainly something that catches your attention. So these storms are going to move. That's good. It comes at a cost here. You're going to increase now your damage and wind potential. You're going to get some Boeing segments. And because you're moving things along with outflows, you're going to run into a low-end tornado threat. Don't panic. This is not a tornado outbreak, supercells all over the place. But you can get rotation in this scenario. So I can't write a few tornado warnings. These tend to be isolated, but it's possible. I know someone's going to ask it. Ashley, are you here yet? But this is going to allow them to move. Now, it's kind of odd because I'm telling you this and saying, yes, hey, they're moving now with this scenario. So we don't have to worry about them parking over us and giving us 2 to 5 inches of rain in an hour's time and just flooding out the communities, right? But it's a different story if you have this scenario and it repeats. So yes, they're moving, but you get another one right down the road that comes in. And then you turn around, oh, well, look, here comes another one. And another one comes in. And then another one comes in. Well, then that's about the same kind of scenario of one being stuck over you all day like the past few days. So you're getting flash flooding, but in 2 different ways here compared to what we've had already this week. Instead of stagnant storms moving in, you just constantly get hit with repeated rounds of heavy rain. And that's why the track of each one becomes much more of a player than anything will be. So we have the tailpipe. So that's when we need to talk about severe. That's why they do have the slight risk that is out. Matching up with mainly the max heating of the day. Once they get toward Louisville, they will be at or after sunset. So at that point, the number of the amount of fuel in the atmosphere will begin to tame down, but it's typically the case. These things are like machines. So the amount of wind does not weaken as rapidly as other elements in severe weather. So you could still get damage and wind gusts all the way to Lexington. So we could still have severe thunderstorm warning. So don't get too caught up on the slight risk map. I got a feeling this is going to, especially around the Louisville area, it's going to get redrawn a few times. It may include Louisville at the midday update at 3 o'clock. It may go back west. And then at 3:30 this afternoon or whatever it may be, they may draw back east again. Don't get caught up on it. Just know that there's going to be a wall of wind with these storms moving in, and it will be gradually weaken as we head to the overnight hours. But be prepared for wind. And I mentioned this on TV yesterday. I think I did on the blog as well. But it's worth repeating because the ground has been so saturated as of late that even sub-severe winds can cause tree damage. Not necessarily the sense of knocking off branches and tree limbs. More so, doing probably even worse, they actually can uproot trees altogether because the ground's so soggy, and especially an older tree that is isolated as well, an environment that has been flooding a lot. If that tree has been in an environment that's been sitting in water for a while, or it's already leaning in your yard, even sub-severe winds of say 40 to 55 miles per hour with some of these gusts that move in, that could be enough to uproot the tree. We see this very often in flooding scenarios that go to severe. We end up with a lot of trees that tumble and fall, and they fall on homes, cars, power lines. That's just as dangerous. And so instead of limbs breaking, you can get complete trees uprooted type of scenario in this situation. So just pay attention to your yard, look around, be careful driving on wooded roadways where trees are already leaning, and especially at night when most of this is hitting, you may not be able to see that, right? So just take it slow. Even with the gustier winds that may not be triggering warnings. No doubt, Missouri and Illinois, they're going to get the worst of the more intense wind on this. We're in a good spot to get the lesser degree, but still, I don't like where we're at in a sense that we will still have to deal with damage winds in our area. I think we'll get warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings of some type in our area. I think it's pretty likely based on the environment, but just know the situation at play. Okay. So tomorrow is when we zoom in on so you can see the slide. But again, this is going to be, I'm telling you, it's going to be drawn several times over and over again over the next few updates. So don't get too worked up on that. And no, it's not going to go all of a sudden to an enhanced. This is not the type of wind field that will upgrade a category. It's more about redrawing the slide, if anything. Tomorrow is a marginal, but there is a chance that if we get any type of heating, and heating is going to be harder tomorrow because we're going to start off with the leftovers of this mess tonight. So we're going to start off raining, cloudy. I don't know how much sun we're going to get tomorrow, but tomorrow is one of those days. Sun will be bad. And if we were to get some sun breaks, then there could be some portion of this that may go into a slight to account for another round of damaging winds that could develop. So I'm not going to rule that out, but that's why we got to take these alert days and these particular waves that are moving in one step at a time. It's the most logical way to handle this type of scenario. So I'm going to show you two different models. All right, so we're going to start with the in-house graph model, then we'll get into the HER model, and that's just a little bit of a wider view. Here we are this afternoon. We're heating up in the 80s, maybe even touch 90. I doubt it, considering how wet we are, but 89, yeah, we'll be close. All right, here we are at, let's see, 6:30. Here comes the Vord out of Missouri. It's not rolling in. Now, it's not going to be a perfect, I reference the comma shape a lot of an MCS. It's not going to have that perfect little comma like on your keyboard look to it, but it'll be similar. You're going to have a little general spin that's going to be in charge, a driver in the seat, and you're going to have these clusters of storms that will build all the way down through the tail, but it will be relatively unorganized. How do I phrase this? An organized, unorganized mess. Is that, if that makes sense? So it will have similar looks to that MCS feature, but it may not be perfectly rounded in all areas. So timing is going to be a little skewed because of that. Some of these cells may try to inform in advance of it. But in general, they'll be rolling on through. Typically, when you have any type of MCS type feature, your tornado potential is going to be located where the spin's going to be. So whether that's in Central Illinois or it's a little closer to Evansville, that's where you may get a couple of isolated tornado warnings. And sometimes you can get one on the tail end, Charlie, on the end of the tail. But I don't want you to get too focused on the tornado threat more so than the fact that it's heavy rain and wind being involved, and wind damage can be a little bit more of a problem here. Now, if you got plans this afternoon, other than a spotty downpour, it really does look to stay quiet for a while. We get to the 8, 9 o'clock window tonight. Start tuning in. I'm sure there'll be a live stream tonight of us tracking the storms entering toward Evansville, and then they'll race in. Now, the graph model, this just updated, really has trouble with the northern feature. It really wants to fire up the tail and just really blossom the heavy rain side of this in a big way. So here's your Vord. I mean, this is the comma shape, but it's very tilted here. What you don't see on this, there still would be wind. There still will be gusty wind, but not a lot of precipitation with the wind as it moves on by. But boy, I don't like the look of that, at least on this particular run. This model tends to have some wild updates I think it's every other hour it updates. It moves on through. All right, we get through the rain, mess, whatever. We wake up tomorrow morning. Hopefully, we got through the night without any major issues, especially on flooding. But we're not done. We're going to just reset for a bit. It likes the idea of getting some sun tomorrow, so that will be enough to fire up the second MCS that will develop Friday evening. Look at that, nearly the exact same time. How exciting. And it breezes on by into Friday night into even Saturday. We're still dealing with it with multiple rounds of showers and storms. And then finally, this is the last of it. See the little spin. This is the last of it that will finally push down some drier air later Saturday night, and Sunday does look to be better. But this is just one model. Let me show you the HER model. This just updated as well. Has a good handle on the current little spotty downpours we've seen this morning, right? Not far from the Capitol. So let's advance it. Here we go this afternoon. We get to about 8 to 10 o'clock. The feature into St. Louis begins to arrive. This would be a damaging wind threat. I can tell already. They will be approaching the tri-state. Let's move this along. Advance it to midnight. It's doing something similar where the northern piece still has some wind with it, but not as intense on the rainfall side because the southern piece becomes large and in charge here, really begins to dominate and steal a lot of that tropical moisture. And that continues into 1 a.m. Friday. Now, this is not a look you want to see for central Kentucky for sure. This is going to be very heavy rainfall at 1 a.m. And then maybe off a little bit on placement. It could be a little more north, a little more south. Again, you got to give a buffer, about a roll of counties as it moves on by. It continues on into Friday morning. We see a brief little break, a little bit of some stragglers there moving across 71. A brief break, but then we get a little bit of heating, and then we fire up the next round as we head into Friday night into Saturday with more rounds of showers and storms. And the group on Saturday looks a little more disorganized on the HER, which is good and bad. Bad in the sense that they can just be still producing some very heavy rainfall. There's no definite spin to it to drag the rain and move it out of here fast. When it's disorganized, that means it takes forever to get out. So Saturday could be trending toward an alert day too. I mean, be adding that on. All right, so this is the graph model. Now, again, I just updated with the tail, and it's so dramatic with the tail portion of this that it allows for 3 to 5, maybe even 6 inches of rain that may try to form on that tail. And notice what it does for the northern piece. We get the wind still, but it's not as impressive on the heavier rain side of things. Are you standing by for the press conference? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I'll be ready in just a second here. And then as we head into the HER model, again, kind of similar look, right? A little bit of the core of the spin. You get some heavier pockets of 1 to 2 and the heaviest to the south. So if you were to go just by these 2 high-res models alone, what is starting to unfold, and we'll see if the data later on today holds with this, is it's trying to aim on the idea that this area of Kentucky, and it may be south of Louisville, but central Kentucky, Evansville, Bowling Green, Elizabethtown, Columbia, Hodgenville, Marion County area, Lebanon, Kentucky, Gravel Switch, Hardinsburg, you may be in a rough spot where you're going to get the tails of all these little waves that move in. And in other words, you end up with a tremendous amount of rain train itself. So if this trend holds, and this started yesterday aiming on this part of Kentucky, then this could be quite the mess and could be significant. As I mentioned, if you get all the rounds, these totals are way too low, way too low of what the reality will be. You're adding at least double that, maybe triple what you see here. So if you're going to go camping this weekend, you have any outdoor plans in general, can't stress enough. Keep checking back in. Let's hope we get an improved forecast. It's only Thursday. It could still change, but I don't like the way this looks. Considering what we've had this week, this is just not a good groundwork to be laid out here for us. Here's your flash flood guidance for just 3 hours. Now, everywhere you see green is bad. You cannot handle much in the way of rain, and that will include part of Louisville because of obvious reasons in Shelby County. But there are pockets there into Breckenridge, even parts of Greene, especially, even parts of Nelson. You cannot handle the rain I just showed you. It'll only take 1 round of storms, maybe 2, and you're going to run into problems. If you are in the blue, especially as you get into the darker blue, you can handle quite a bit of this before you get to flash flood status. Not all of it, about a third of what I showed you, and then you'll run into problems, but it will buy you some time. And that does include a good chunk of Indiana. You'll be able to hold on for a bit longer, but there are parts of South Central Kentucky in the darker blue where you can handle 3 to 4 inches, at least over a few hours time. But anywhere, again, you see those green pockets, that's the problem area. And screenshot, I'll leave this up for a second. Screenshot this so you have a general idea of this includes your community or not. That's what you need to be watching for because you can easily get 3 inches in just 1 hour's time. Getting, an inch and a half over 3 hours is your flood level, then that's your threshold. That's not good. All right. Your severe risk, I'll cover that real quick. CPC, CSU, I'll get it right. so many C's. They don't have much on the tornado risk for today or tomorrow. Not really on hail. They both do for the wind, though, for obvious reasons. It's mainly a wind issue, but I can't run an isolated tornado warning, but it's mainly wind. Flood watch is out. And notice Indiana did not put out one for their counties because of the trend of these tails of these commas that move through here. It's the tail portion that drags through Kentucky. That's why the flood watches are out all the way through Sunday morning. So yikes, that's not good. Quick scan of the longer term does show that we get out of this. We do heat up next week, but it'll be a lower humidity. The question is the very end of the forecast, toward the end of the 10-day. Do we see a dramatic drop and a trough move in around the 20th? The model stops on the 19th. Around the 20th of July, if we can bring in a front, there is a chance we could score highs in the lower 80s with lower humidity. Wouldn't that be awesome? Here's your entire 10 days showing. You have active weather here for the next couple of days, especially, and then we'll get a break. Sunday's rain chance 30%. I hope we can remove that, and it's possible we may be able to. Saturday, nope, we can't do it. But just be weather aware, again, if you have any outdoor plans, and we'll keep you posted. Sorry, again, I'm not able to get to a lot of your questions today. I'll try to look back after the stream is over with. But standing by again will be a news conference about the berries and everyone getting sick here lately in our communities. From that, Mario Ansari is standing by with an update on that. So look for that notification on the news app. And I will see you guys coming up on midday at 11 a.m. Thanks, everybody.